Joining us now on the phone with more perspective is Gwyn Morgan, the former CEO of Encana. And Gwyn, I would love to start by just getting your reaction to all this news we've been learning about in the last 20 minutes or so here.
Well, good morning, John. I guess it's closer to noon there, but I'm in an earlier time zone. Well, that's quite the news, but you know, I'll have to be from Missouri, if you like, on this, because Trump has a habit of tweeting things that aren't exactly true, or at least not quite on the mark. But hopefully that's the case. I have a little trouble thinking about the 10 million barrels a day, because that would be a very substantial part of the combined production of those two countries. So we'll see. Of course, we know what the fallout has been so far. I mean, our industry, our Canadian industry, after 5 years of Trudeau's policies, cancellation of pipelines, Northern Gateway, Energy East, and all has left hundreds of billions of dollars that should have been on the balance sheets of Canadian oil and gas industry, to the point where the balance sheets were so stretched that they're on the edge of an abyss. So this oil price discount situation, combined with COVID-19's reduction in demand, really had pushed them over the abyss. As you probably know, the market prices of the top 30 oil and gas companies have fallen by between 80 and 100% in the last number of days. So that really wiped them out entirely. And that meant that what that really means, of course, is that the investors have given up on the Canadian oil and gas industry. So hopefully this will help, but it really won't change the overall picture for the investor, because what they want to see is a change in policy that has destroyed the industry in the first place.
What would be the kind of thing, do you think, that would change the story more materially? And to your point, we are still waiting for more details on how exactly this all plays out. The president didn't, as we take a look at the oil price, clarify if we were talking about 10 million barrels a day here, and then he had a further tweet saying it could be as much as 15 million. So to your point, the devil's in the details. What is it that the Canadian industry really does need, in your opinion, at this stage of the game?
Well, after 5 years of anti-fossil fuel, deliberately, as Trudeau said early on, we want to phase out the fossil fuel industry. And so that now has gotten to that's really what he has accomplished, in effect. And so there has to be a complete change in policy in order to investors to have any confidence. And they can't rebuild their balance sheets without investment. And so the whole issue here is as you say, John, what are the things that are needed to be changed? Well, I guess I would say everything. The whole situation around the Bill C-29, under which no new pipeline would ever be proposed and built, needs to be repealed. Right now, the carbon tax, we've got companies who can't even pay their employees, and the carbon tax is still being applied. That needs to be repealed.
Yeah.
We need to look at a complete reversal of the position of the government, so that investors can say, hey, maybe something has changed. Maybe the government isn't interested in the most important industry and the most important export product of the country. But without those very, very significant turnaround, I don't see how the industry can come back from the abyss they've been pushed over.
Gwyn, I just want to come back to what's been one of the big stories we've been talking about today. Yesterday, we got more details on that 75% wage subsidy that the federal government is going to be providing to hard-hit businesses. And when the Prime Minister has talked about the energy industry, he's often used examples like that there are plenty of energy companies that could be in a position to use that or take advantage of that. How do you think it might help the industry? Do you think it's too late for those who are already affected?
Well, we have a prime minister that no matter what the problem is, you throw taxpayers' money at it. And, we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. We're talking market capitalizations that have been lost that much, revenues that have been lost by that much. Putting some wage support in isn't going to help people who have nothing, where the people have nothing to do because it makes no sense to invest in the business. So, it's just another one of this Trudeau government's approach to things. We'll just throw some money at it, sprinkle it around, and maybe it'll make a difference. But sure, the people who are out of jobs, and there's hundreds of thousands of them, even more now, the oil companies have been laying off, not only because of COVID-19, but they've been laying off people because of the oil price. So we've had a double whammy in Alberta, the combination of investors leaving, the companies, stacks falling, and now people out of jobs. So sure, some wage support is important for the people that don't have jobs or there's nothing for them to do. But in the overall picture, the only hope for the future of Albertans and the industry is a complete change in policy.
We are covering this breaking news with Gwyn Morgan, the former CEO of Encana, that U.S. President Donald Trump says he expects Saudi Arabia and Russia to cut oil production by initially saying about 10 million barrels. The president had another tweet after that. This is after he spoke with the Crown Prince in Saudi Arabia today. Gwyn, one of the other big developments as we await the Prime Minister, who generally this hour does his daily address to the nation, and we'll be covering that here on BNN Bloomberg. But the other big piece of news this week was Alberta's plan to invest alongside the former TransCanada TC in the Keystone XL project. I wonder what your reaction to that is. I wonder whether or not the province itself felt a bit of pressure, maybe from TC, who knows, to be alongside them in that production, to continue down that path.
Well, John, we're in a situation where somebody had to do something. And, I've been advocating for quite some time that the Energy East pipeline, for example, carrying oil to Tidewater in the east and the Atlantic, and also shutting down all those tankers coming up the St. Lawrence from Saudi Arabia and Nigeria and Iran and so on, needs to be built and should have been built, but was canceled by the federal government. And the Northern Gateway had been approved. It was canceled by the federal government. So here we have to do something. And Jason, the fact is that Keystone XL is a pipeline that's ready to go. It just needs some help. And so I think I commend Jason Kenney for putting in the kind of support that's needed, because nobody else is doing anything. And he's still he's still swimming upstream against government policies. So good for Jason, good for the industry. And, at least it's something that's being done, even though much more needs to be done.